Don't take them in the captain's door.
No, that's closed.
We have 2 feet. Oh. We usually take the door. You ready?
I'm ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Firefighter Paramedic Diaz. I work here at Sierra Madre Fire Department. This is going to be our virtual tour for Fire Prevention Week. I hope you all enjoy. Just wanted to start with some brief history of the Sierra Madre Fire Department. It started in 1921 with the Great Bakery Fire. Back then, Sierra Madre didn't have a fire department, no recognized fire department, so they had to call outside agencies. As a result, the bakery ended up burning down, and the citizens got together, decided that they should come up with a fire department, and the Sierra Madre Volunteer Fire Department was born. The fire department stayed volunteer for about almost 100 years, up until around 2019, excuse me, when the department went full-time career fire department. So now you have a full career fire department here at Sierra Madre. We are in an auto aid agreement in the Verdugo system. That means if we are busy on a call, you might see Arcadia, Monrovia, or even Pasadena units come to you if you do call 911, and vice versa. We may respond to Pasadena or Arcadia if they need us. So now that we are a full-time career fire department, we work a 48-96 schedule. So what that means is we work 2 days on, 4 days off, a full 48 hours, and then we get a full 4 days off on our normal schedule. Things might change with some overtime, but that is our schedule. Now that does not mean that I'm not always here. Someone is always here at the fire department, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you call 911, we will show up with smiles on our faces, ready to help you with any emergency you may need. So with all that said and done, I think we should move on into our apparatus bay and take a look at some of our fire engines. This right here is our frontline fire engine. It's a KME 2011 Predator Severe Service. It's about 29.5 feet long, almost 9.5 feet tall at its highest point, and it seats up to 6 people comfortably. Here at Sierra Madre, we have 5 people on duty at all times. We have a captain, an engineer, a firefighter that sit on the engine, and then we have an ambulance, a rescue ambulance that's staffed by 2 firefighter paramedics. So here at Sierra Madre Fire Department, we do have paramedics all the time. However, we are cross trained, so we are firefighters and paramedics. Everyone here is trained as a firefighter. We will not just get only paramedics here. So moving on onto our engine, this is where the engineer sits. He's the guy who drives the fire engine. Up top, above where he sits, are all his knobs and buttons and switches. Those will work the lights and the sirens that you hear us as we come by. He has full control over that. On the other side, we'll get to it, that's where the captain sits. He's the guy in charge. He oversees us as our supervisor each and every shift. This next seat is where the firefighter of the day will sit. He will have all his gear up by his seat, all his radios, and then other things he may need for service. One of the most important part of what we do is our PPE, our personal protective equipment. So every day we have to come in, we have to check all of our equipment, make sure it's up to good, normal standard for what we are going to be doing. We'll come in, we'll check everything, double check, make sure it's in good service before we start our day. And now we're ready for any emergency. Next, we move on to our fire hoses. These are going to be our main hoses, we call them our crossways. This is going to be the main hose we're going to be pulling for a fire. Each of these 2 crossways are 300 feet of firefighting hose. In total, on this engine, we have almost 4,000 feet of firefighting hose we can use on any incident that we may need it for. We have our 2 bundle packs here. This is a 2.5-inch hose, it's 50 feet. And this is an 1.25-inch hose, 100 feet of more firefighting hose. And then we get to the cool part, the knobs, the switches, so this is called the panel. This is specifically the engineer's panel. So the engineer's job not only is to drive the fire engine, but it's also to get water to a fire incident. Okay? So he uses all these knobs and switches and gauges to pump water to these fire hoses, so the firefighter can then fight the fire that he's trying to extinguish. Moving on to this compartment here, this is where we're going to find our extra nozzles as well as miscellaneous hand tools that we may need. So we use primarily our Elkhart brass Selectomatic nozzles. These are automatic nozzles, meaning they will help us create either a straight stream or a fog stream of water. So they come in handy a lot. Now we also have what's called our play pipe. This is a smooth bore nozzle, so you're going to get one solid stream of water coming out of this. This helps a lot when you want to get penetration into a structure or something along those lines. It's going to be a lot of water coming at you. It's going to put the fire out really quickly. Moving on to the next compartment here. Here you're going to find a lot of our fittings for fire hose and adapters, whether they want to go up or down, depending on the hose and the situation you may need. Next we have our 4-inch supply line. This is a pony line. It's only 25 feet of fire hose. The engineer is going to use this to hook up to a fire hydrant to supply water to the engine. Once water is supplied to the engine then pumps it at a higher RPM and GPM to pump the water out to the fire. So it goes hydrant to engine, engine to fire. Now, we don't necessarily need a hydrant to fight a fire. It obviously helps, but we can do it on our own. On this engine, we have a water tank that's mounted on the engine. It holds 500 gallons of water, and it's ready at all times. Our pump is capable of pumping up to 1,500 gallons of water per minute. So when you put that in perspective, the average shower head will pump about a little over 2 gallons of water per minute. So when you think about that versus 1,500, you're going to be able to fill a lot of showers real quick with that. So our next compartment is going to be our hand tools. We're going to use these tools if we find a locked door, locked window, whatever we may find that gets in our way that's preventing us from life safety. So here at the fire, in the fire service, we have 3 major goals. We have life safety, protection of property, and protection of the environment. Those are the 3 main things we want to protect. So if we know we have to make a rescue or we have to make entry into a building or whatever it may be, we'll use our tools. Up here we have bolt cutters so we can cut locks. Here we're going to have our sledgehammer in case we need to bang a door in, whatever it may be. This kind of strange looking tool here is called a halligan. It's got 3 different tools on it that we can use to pry doors or windows open. Next we have our flat-headed axe, a crowbar, and our pig-headed axes that we'll use for whatever it may be. Then we have other drills and our big fan in case we come across a structure that's kind of has a lot of smoke, we can't really see too well. We'll put this big fan at the front door and we'll blast smoke out the back of the structure, and that helps us see a lot better. It helps us make a rescue, whatever, fight fire, whatever we doing. Continue on to the back here. Now, because we do have paramedics and EMTs on our fire engine, we do have medical supplies as needed. This is where we're going to find our medical equipment. This is our heart monitor. It's going to help us with medical stuff as far as it takes your blood pressure, it'll take your pulse, it'll tell us a lot of what's going on internally with your body. It even takes a quick picture of your heart in case you're having a heart issue. We can decipher right there if you're having a heart attack in front of us. Next, we have our med box. So in that, you're going to find a lot of the medical equipment we need as far as like Band-Aids and gauze, tape, even IV start kits in case we need to give you fluid or medications into your veins to help you for whatever medical emergency you may have. We have all that bring right to you instead of you bringing you out to us. We'll hop up here and we'll look at some other stuff. So here we're going to have more of our firefighting hose. It's rolled a different way. It's called a Minuteman load. We have our 1 3/4 Minuteman, our 2.5-minute limit. Obviously, the 2.5 is going to need a lot more water. The downside to that is it's hard to maneuver, it's heavier, it's much easier to maneuver and hold 1 3/4 for a one-man or one-person pool. The glory to these things is they're rolled in such a way where we can weave in and out of cars if they're in our way. It helps us a lot with getting around corners and things like that, as opposed to our cross lay we talked about earlier. That's more of a straight pool. Otherwise, if we go around a corner, we might get tangled up. So with these, we won't get tangled up as much. Now, in here we're going to have 600 feet of that supply line we were talking about. In case our engineer has a hydrant that's really far away, he can use this lay here to pull and hook up to that hydrant that's up to at least 600 feet, up to 600 feet away. And then here we have 600 feet of our 2.5-inch hose laid in a tack lay, meaning that the nozzle is pointing out. So we have two different lays here. We have the tack lay where the nozzle is pointing out, and a supply lay where the female end of the hose is pointing out. So for different reasons, we'll have that. The reason we have those 2.5 tack lays is in case we have to go fight the fire right now. We're ready to pull it. It's ready to go. Now, you may see me locking all these doors and mechanisms before we move on. That's because we are always run ready here at the fire department. So if anyone ever was to call 911, we have to go, drop what we're doing, respond right away. We have up to 2 minutes to respond to any emergency once our tones go off and we are alerted by our dispatch center during the day. At night, they give us an extra 45 seconds to get up out of bed and then come down here 2 flights of stairs and respond to our engines. Because we do sleep here, like I said, we're 24/7 or 48/96 schedules. We do eat, sleep, and bathe here at this fire station. So at night they give us an extra 45 seconds to get up and out of bed, but still we got to get dressed fast and get ready to go. So up here you're going to find our ladders. This is a fire engine, not to be confused with a fire truck. A fire truck, it's going to be much longer, and it's going to have that big ladder on top that you see. Sometimes they have a guy driving in the back. That's called a tiller, right? So the difference with this is the engine. It's much smaller. It has that pump we were talking about earlier, and it has a lot of firefighting hose. So. However, we do have ladders on the engine. They are much shorter. Obviously, the truck will have up to a 100-foot ladder. This is our 24-foot ground extension ladder. So it's comprised of 2 sections, a bed and a fly, and it extends up to 24 feet. So it's 48 feet. Excuse me. Behind that, we have another ladder. We call it our roof ladder. It's got some hooks in case we go onto a pitched roof. We'll use that to get a grip so we can operate on top of a roof without slipping off. In this compartment, we're going to find our saw compartment. All this fun stuff, right? So here is our chainsaw. Like I was saying, sometimes we go on a roof and we'll do work up there. The chainsaw will allow us to cut holes in the roof. The reason we do that is because during fires rise, right? The smoke and heat rises. So what we do is we'll cut holes in the roof to let that smoke and fire out of the structure. That way those who are fighting fire inside, they can see better. They'll be able to, it's safer for them, gets all that carcinogens and cancer-causing substances out of the structure so they can see and fight the fire more efficiently. follow me through the Plimo vents. We have these vents here. They're called the Plimo vents. We use these to hook up to our exhaust engine of the engine or whatever apparatus. These vents will suck any exhaust up and out of the station. That way we're not breathing in carcinogens here at the station. In this compartment we're going to have our RICE, our Rapid Intervention Crew equipment. Here for the fire service, we have what's called the RIC team or the RIC crew. They are assigned for downed firefighters. If we get in trouble on an incident in a fire, we fall through a roof, or we fall through a floor, or we run out of air, whatever it may be, we call the RIC team, and they will come in and they will help us get us out of danger. So in here you're going to find their equipment. They keep an extra bottle and some rope equipment for rescues. The loud beeping you just heard, that's we call it an RA, a rescue ambulance. They were just transporting a patient we ran on earlier. They just got back from the hospital. So that's what that loud beeping was. We'll take a look at the RA in just a second. So you're going to find more fire extinguishers. This is our water can. It looks like an extinguisher, but it's just filled with pressurized water. We have different extinguishers based on whatever is on fire. So some quick science for you guys. Different substances allow for different firefighting techniques. Like if you were to have a grease fire, obviously water doesn't mix well with grease. So you cannot use just water on grease. So we'll use a foam agent or some other kind of agent to fight that grease fire. However, on that same subject, if you have just wood that's on fire, obviously just a water can could put out wood fire. So good to keep that in mind if you're cooking at home or something. If you do have a grease fire on the stove and it's kind of small enough, don't fight it with water. If you can, if it's just condensed to that one pan, try and cover the pan, and that'll put the fire out real quick. So as I said, here at Sierra Madre, we run it's called 3O staff. We have an engineer, captain, and a firefighter. This, if we did have an extra firefighter, sometimes we do, this is where they would sit. This is the firefighter 2 position. Right now, because we only have one firefighter, we kind of use it for extra storage and personal protective equipment for us. Last but certainly not least, this is where our supervisor sits. This is the captain's chair. He's the person that will call all the shots that day. We answer to him. During morning lineup, he runs the show, he runs the crew. He's always looking out for our safety. But this is where he sits, and that way he can look out the front window and see the incident and be able to give a good size up as we're pulling up to the incident. So we'll come around here to the front. We'll take a look at our brand new rescue ambulance. And I believe firefighter paramedic Knapp is going to take over from here.
Hello, I'm probationary firefighter paramedic Knapp. So probationary meaning I just started, so I have a year to go. Through there I'll do all kinds of training, sign-offs, and then I'll be evaluated each shift. So this is our brand new 2021 rescue ambulance 41. It's a Ram 4500 turbo diesel. Starting off here, there are 2 seats in the cab. This seat here is going to be the patient man seat. So he's going to be he or she will be the person in the back attending to the patient when we go to the hospital. On the opposite side, we have our driver and radio man seat. So that'll be the person obviously driving to the calls. They will do all the documenting on scene, and then they'll call into the hospital and drive us to the hospital. So you guys can check out inside the cab. It's kind of standard truck cab with all of our computers and radios. So we have a couple compartments on this side, and a door to the inside, but you guys will see all that when we kind of go in the back. We're very lucky in this ambulance. It's very tall. It has a lot of storage. So we carry a lot of equipment for many reasons. So it is nice to have the large storage. There's one on either side. So this is my gear right now, kind of airing out from training earlier. But we keep our structure firefighting gear, our wildland gear, extra wildland boots. So we're able to respond on both types of fires on the ambulance as well. So the RA will respond to fires within our city. However, we don't go on mutual aid fires out of our area unless they really need another RA. So anything in the city, we carry all of our firefighting equipment on the RA so we can help out as needed. So in the back we have our patient compartment. Go ahead and put the lights on. So again, this ambulance, we're fortunate enough that our paramedic coordinator was able to kind of design this ambulance. So she laid it out really, really well. Up here in these bins here, we keep all of our trauma equipment. So large bandages, emergency blankets, splints, all that kind of stuff. Here we have these nice drawers that fold out, and you can see we kind of got all of our medications real nice and organized in here. This obviously will stay in there, but just so you guys can see it, we kind of got everything real nice and custom. Just more drawers, like I said, mostly oversized medications. Up here is kind of our miscellaneous compartment, so we keep our IV bags, IV supplies, kind of things like that. Up here we have kind of quick access to IV supplies and then medications we might need to give. And then over here we have all of our airway stuff. So it's designed really nice where you have access to the patient on both sides. So this is your gurney in the middle. Obviously this can slide out and we can get to you guys wherever you're at. But we can sit on both sides. And then we have our airway bag here, which is, this is kind of our airway C. So if anybody's having trouble breathing, I have access to all my compartments. Our oxygen is here. We have our suction here, and we're right at the head of the patient, so we can really go to work. Here again, that's the door, and here's the access from the outside as well. So we keep our splints, our trauma bag, mountain rescue backpack in case we need to get any of you guys off of Chantry or Hermit Falls. Our auto pulse, which is pretty new, that it's a mechanical device that does compression, so super handy. It kind of allows us to free up a person so more people can work. Our monitor and our drug box. I think that covers pretty much everything in here. Again, super happy to have it. They did a really good job laying it out. So on the other side, pretty similar. We have another compartment again for the driver or radio man. In the back here, we keep our stair chair. So if for some reason we can't get the gurney up to where you're at, this chair has handles on it, so we can kind of roll it up and down the stairs, and it has tracks that helps us with that. And then last one, we have all of our backboards and the House O2 for the whole rig. I think that pretty much covers the new RA. You have any questions?
So in the fire service, we have different kinds of fire engines. This is our water tender. It's used primarily on wildland incidents. It's capable, it has a huge tank in the back. It's capable of holding 3,000 gallons of water. So as opposed to our fire engine was only 500, the water tender holds 3,000 gallons. Something about our water tender, if anyone remembers the big fire that happened back here in our hills last year, Arcadia and Monrovia, it was called the Bobcat Fire. Our water tender here was sent out to that. It was gone on that fire for a little over a month working on that fire. So a lot of work has been done on this tender, a lot of hours logged on that tender, a lot of fun had. Now another piece of apparatus that we have is our OES. It's a Type 6 fire engine. It's kind of like if you took a pickup truck and converted it to a fire engine, put a pump on it and a water tank on it. So that OES is provided by us from the Office of Emergency Services from the state of California. They give it to us. They say, hey, you guys can use this. We can use it on instances in our city. We can train on it. We can do whatever we want with it. Now the agreement is whenever the state calls for that OES type of things, we have to staff it. We have to go to wherever the state needs us. So right now, our OES is currently dispatched to the Windy Fire. They've been out there for a little over 10 days, I believe, coming up on 14 days. They should be back home this week, but who knows? With the way the wildfires are going in California, who knows when they'll be back. The typical deployment of a wildland incident is 14 days, up to 21, but that's really up in the air to wherever the state is in that situation. So we'll take a close look at our tender. This has a pump capable of pumping up to 750 gallons per minute, as opposed to our engine was only 1,500. But with the water tender, usually we don't need as high of a gallonage to supply our water. It has a couple of fire hoses on it in case it does need to attack fire by itself, but usually it's dispatched with what's called a task force. A task force typically is 5 of any like engines. Usually with the water tender, it'll attach itself to a different task force. So you might have a Type 6 task force, and might have a water tender attached to it for firefighting purposes. Currently, there's not much right now in these compartments. There's a few small things, but when we do get called, we'll throw all our gear onto it, anything that we need for those 14 to 21 days, and we're ready to go at a moment's notice. We have large red bags packed at all times. They have 14 days of clothes, toothpaste, toothbrush, whatever we may need, sleeping bag, tents, whatever we may need for camping for up to 21 days. And we'll just throw those bags onto the tender and off we go. So here we have our main dump for the water tender. This will dump all that 3,000 gallons of water straight out the bottom, and usually we'll fill a big pool with the tender, and fire engine will come and they'll draft from that pool and fight fire with that. We actually have a pool attached to our water tender, so if we need to, we can take that big pool out. It holds 2,500 gallons of water, 2,500 gallons of water when it's full. and these other, like I said, the other engines will come. They'll draft water from that pool, and the water tender will just bring water to that pool from the hydrant to the pool, and just do that all day long. That about covers our water tender. I think next we're going to go upstairs, if I'm not mistaken. We'll show you where we eat, sleep, and live while we're here at the fire station. So here at Sierra Madre with our police. So it's not uncommon to maybe see an officer coming on or off shift, because if you walk just down those stairs that we just walked up, that's going to be straight into their station. If you walk further up these stairs, if you hang a sharp left, that's the police locker room. So that's where they get dressed for the day or when they clock out. But this is kind of like we'll pass each other in the mornings. So this is our living quarters, where we're going to be spending some time. That room we just passed is our captain's quarters. He has his own little private room. We don't really go in there. That's kind of his deal. We don't bother him too much. So since we are eating here and sleeping here, we have a small little kitchen here at Sierra Madre. We pay for all of our meals, and then we prep them and cook them, and we have a lot of time here at the table where a lot of stories are had over lunch or dinner. A lot of knowledge is passed around here at this table. Now, typically after 7 o'clock p.m., that's going to be our downtime. Whatever we may need to do, call home, get caught up on old work, whatever it may be. But sometimes guys will come up, they'll sit in these brown chairs, they'll watch TV, they'll hang out, relax a little bit, kind of just relax from the day and decompress. Now, when it is time to go to bed, we have two living quarters. So we'll take you guys inside the living quarters. I think it's pretty clean. Yeah. So this is one of our living quarters. It has 4 beds, so people can obviously sleep in here. Like I said, we have up to 5 people on shift at all times. So we'll be sleeping in here, and if we do get a call in the middle of the night, we're in here sleeping. We got to get up out of bed, run down all those stairs down to our apparatus, and respond within 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And then we have another sleeping area. Has a little smaller room, has 2 beds in there. Usually the snorers are kind of kicked over here. I snore real loud, so that's kind of my bed. I've been kind of kicked over here. But same kind of deal. All the lights will go on. If we get a call, we all got to run down and respond to that call within 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, so thank you for stopping by. It's going to conclude our tour. I hope you guys learned something or had a lot of fun. We kind of did this in conjunction with the library, with our fire prevention week. It's going on all week, and it's going to conclude on Saturday with the Fire Prevention Festival. That starts at 9 o'clock, goes till noon. That's going to be down here in the park at Memorial Park. Hopefully you guys can stop by and come hang out with us. We'll be selling shirts, and we'll have other stuff for you guys there. Are there any questions that we want answered? No? Okay. Well, in that case, you guys have a good day and take care. Stay safe.